Look, up in the sky. It's a bird. It's a plane. It's Black Superman? Well, because it's 2018, apparently it's time to racially rebrand the Man of Steel.
Holy schizophrenia.
Alas, Cavell is hanging up his cape, and now the hunt is on for a new actor to play Superman. Enter the dastardly Lex Luthor, or I mean to say the despicable social justice warrior brigade, who are clamoring to have Superman portrayed by a black actor, even though he's been portrayed by a Caucasian since his comic book debut in 1938.
Great Caesar's ghost!
You know, I especially love the inflammatory headline in Vice, quote, "Superman shouldn't be white," end quote. Still waiting for that follow-up story, you know, Black Panther shouldn't be black. I won't hold my breath on that one. Now, the deck to the Vice piece is especially ludicrous, namely, quote, "because it never completely made sense to begin with," end quote. Yeah, it never made sense for Superman to be white? What the hell? Let's follow the convoluted logic here. The author notes that Superman's original creators, Joe Shuster and Jerry Siegel, were both children of Jewish immigrants, and they allegedly embraced a goal that was not to just create some pale, Christianized hero. By the way, the writer spells Christianized with a lowercase c, which I find very revealing. Anyway, according to this writer, the idea was to create a Hebrew-like Moses that would have been labeled a foreigner in his time within an American context. Superman's characterization was an ideal wrapped in a possibility that anyone could become something great in America. But given Shuster and Siegel's own experience with prejudice in the 1930s, I mean, we're talking about a time frame here in which Nazi Germany was in power, pursuing the goal of cleansing Jews from the planet. Jews were indeed the persecuted underdog some 80 years ago. And as Caucasians themselves, why wouldn't Shuster and Siegel depict their superhero creation in their own image? It actually made perfect sense. Now, having said that, I wholeheartedly agree that the comic book industry has not been a model of diversity for much of its history. In fact, black characters didn't even come into prominence until the 1970s, and those attempts seem more like an exercise in blaxploitation. For example, it became downright goofy for a while that every new black superhero had the word black as part of his name, such as Black Goliath and Black Lightning. But why? We can see their skin color. Surely just plain old Goliath and garden variety Lightning would have sufficed. After all, that guy in the red jumpsuit isn't called Caucasian Daredevil. Yet these days, instead of changing the race and even the gender of established iconic comic book characters, how about we introduce new and interesting non-white and female characters? Or at least pay more attention to developing the cool and diverse characters that already exist, such as Black Panther and Luke Cage and Storm. Also, it's worth noting that when DC temporarily killed off Superman in 1993, he was later resurrected as 4 different Supermen, including Steel, who is a black Superman. There was even a Steel movie released in 1997 in which the titular character was played by Shaquille O'Neal. The point is, we already have a black Superman. Oh, and for a short time, there was even a Chinese Superman called New Superman, which went over about as well as New Coke, given that title was canceled earlier this year after just 24 issues. By the way, methinks DC really outsmarted itself with Chinese Superman. I'm sure the launch strategy was like this: hey boss, China has a population of 1.4 billion people. If we can get just 1% to buy Chinese Superman, this will be the best-selling comic ever. But talk about failure to launch. Not even the Chinese were buying what DC was selling. In the weeks ahead, it will be interesting to see if Warner Brothers caves into the demands of the SJW set, who are also, by the way, clamoring for the next James Bond to be either black and or female. And if Warner does acquiesce to the demands of the PC crowd, Well, then I say in for a penny, in for a pound. So how about we go all in when it comes to an all-new cinematic Superman? In addition to skin color, let's change his sexual orientation and his religion. In fact, let's drop the super part of his moniker. I mean, super, that kind of hints at American exceptionalism. We can't have that these days, right? So how does affirmative action person grab you?
Holy rainbow.
For the Rebel.media, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, the Rebel has a brand new app. Please download that app and take the Rebel with you wherever you go.